G'day guys and welcome to the Boundary Riders Podcast. We're up to a new episode now. We just completed our first round of the buys with round 12. We saw the Richmond Tigers finally win a close one. Essendon only just scraped home against North Melbourne. And the Gold Coast actually pushing for maybe the finals for the first time in their lifespan. But we've got our co-host today, Jack, or Jackpot Junkies over on Instagram. How did you think the round went?
Oh, it was a very interesting one, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of close games, a lot of...
I think you did see a big push of who's in finals contention and who isn't, and the log jam in the middle.
Yeah, I think the Crows losing that game against the Gold Coast is huge for them because we'll talk more about that a little bit later, but that's going to be huge going into late in the season, I believe, because a lot of those teams are going to be right in the middle now. There's about 6-7 teams fighting for those final for 2 or 3 spots in the 8.
Yeah, I think the top 6 are pretty much set. It's probably just going to be 7 and 8 like it normally is.
Yeah.
They're going to fight for it.
Yeah, but one of the big stories that came out of the weekend was Collingwood versus West Coast. Now, you wouldn't think that would be a big game. And to be honest, despite West Coast playing okay for about 2.5 quarters, Collingwood eventually outstrengthed them and flogged them by 60 points. So I'm not going to give I did say on Instagram, I gave them a gallant performance, but thinking about it now, I mean, it's somewhat gallant performance by the Eagles because they were, close for about 2.5 quarters or whatever, but to lose by 60 points against anyone is not a scenario any team should want to be in, and they're in a really low spot. Now, one of the big things to come out of it was the fact that Jordan De Goey hit Elijah Hewitt in the head and got sent straight to the tribunal. Now, what happened was, none of the Eagles players remonstrated with Jordan De Goey to fly the flag or anything for Elijah Hewitt, young guy, 18 years old, didn't want to even put an effort in, and don't give me the excuse that they didn't see it, because if you're not, that was on the ball, or pretty much on the ball, someone should have seen that and gone over and flown the flag for their mate. That was pathetic. But nonetheless, Dom Sheed, after the match, came out and said something, and I just want to quickly play that now for you, so in case you missed it.
I heard it was pretty bad and the boys probably didn't respond the way that we should have when that happened. But yeah, I think, watching it back now, I think he deserves a good month or 2 on the sidelines.
So that's what Dom Sheed said about Jordan De Goey. And for some reason, the West Coast Eagles came out on Twitter, I believe, and apologised for that. Weak as piss, West Coast. Weak as piss. I don't care if Collingwood supporters in John, who's 40 years old and hates his kids, is fucking complaining on Facebook about you. About Dom Sheed's comments. That is weak as piss from the West Coast Eagles. Why would you apologise for that?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, does it? It's really pathetic.
It's pathetic. This club is in a fucking terrible spot. This club used to be one of the biggest clubs in the AFL, and then now they can't even stand up for one of their teammates. I'm not blaming the social media guy for putting out that post. I'm blaming whoever told him that they should apologise for that. Who cares if you got 100 comments on Facebook or Twitter or whatever saying that's bullshit or that's uncalled for from Collingwood. From West Coast about Collingwood. That's crap. That is crap. Yeah. They can sit there and have a fucking... I thought of this just recently. Collingwood supporters are more than happy to have a whinge about fucking... they're all more than happy to stand up for Eddie Maguire way back in the day about Adam Goodes stuff, when he made some pretty racial comments about Adam Goodes in the past.
Yeah.
But they can't take Dom Sheed saying, Jordan De Goey probably deserved a month or 2 on the sidelines for that. Grow up! That is pathetic.
Yeah, they are the biggest sooks in the AFL, Collingwood. And because they're the big team in Melbourne, the AFL coped... pretty much begged down to him. I don't know why.
That is pathetic.
It's happened for years, and
if you're a Collingwood supporter and you sat there and had a go at Dom Sheed for saying something that was fucking not much at all,
you should really look at yourselves in the
get
mirror,
over
really.
yourself. That is fucking nothing. Yeah. That was weak as piss. And then for West Coast to think that they needed to apologise for that was pathetic. I actually saw that on a clip on Footy Classified, because I'm not watching the whole fucking episode. Fuck that. But not the Footy Classified's any good thing to watch at the moment. They had Caroline Wilson last week come out and say something about Paddy Cripps, which is an outright lie. But whatever. But that's where I found that clip. I was looking everywhere because I saw it on Twitter. West Coast Eagles tweet out that they're sorry, and I'm like, I remember that Dom Sheed bit. I heard it earlier. I'm like, well, that couldn't be it. So it's got to be something else. What did they say? Like, did they put out a social media saying something like Jordan DeGoey is a alleged woman abuser, which allegedly he is. I mean, he's faced it. He's had to face these sort of reprimands from the club. But whatever. No, it was for that. That is weak as piss from West Coast. Grow a pair from both clubs. Like, I don't think there was. I don't know. It's a bit soft from Jordan DeGoey to go and hit an 18-year-old. It's not as bad as when Andrew Gaff hit Andrew Brayshaw behind the ball.
Yeah.
That was fucked. He should have been... He could have... Honestly, that happens in the... That's a story for another day. We're not going to get into that. But weak as piss from the West Coast Eagles. And for any Collingwood people out there who thought that Dom Sheed went too far by saying that, were you the one who was standing up for Eddie Maguire when he was saying all that kind of shit 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Get fucked.
Yeah, it's pretty much look in the mirror, really.
Look in the mirror. Shut your hole.
Yeah.
Dom Sheed said fucking nothing. That was a nothing sandwich, that comment. Obviously, he deserves a month on the sidelines, Jordan DeGoey, for hitting someone behind the play like that. But anyway, what I wanted to actually talk about at the start of this episode was the fact that last week we had the mid-season draft. And we had a bunch of new players come into the game from state clubs and stuff. And when this happens every single year... the question always gets asked if the AFL should have a mid-season trade period. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Do you believe the AFL should have a trade period in the mid-season?
No.
No?
No.
I actually agree with you. I don't think they should because it would make the bottom clubs suffer more and the top clubs prosper more.
Yeah.
I think that'd be shit. I don't think that should be a good idea. I think what could be a good idea, though, is how in soccer they get loan players.
Mm.
So maybe not so much... Maybe if you've only played to this point in the season, you've played 2 games. Maybe you can get loaned out to another team, or you can grab a player from the state league.
Yeah.
And for example, the Sydney Swans right now, they've got a lot of injuries, or Geelong, or West Coast, or any sort of team like that. Maybe they could go into for example, Paddy Dow's played 1 game for Carlton this year, and it was last week.
Yeah.
At the moment, a club could really use Paddy Dow as a loan player. Do you think that would be a decent idea?
Yeah, I think, like you say, the trade period I don't think would work because, like you just said, but a loanee, sort of a 6 month, for the rest of the season, help another team out, might be a good idea.
We even saw it during COVID. What was it, last year or the year before? No, I think it was last year. Whenever it was,
the first
players
the
could
the 2022 season.
Players had access. Players had access to state league players.
Yeah,
we saw West Coast just a couple. I think Declan Mountford played for Claremont or something. I'm not 100% on the waffle at the moment, but yeah, I mean he got picked up. I think that was pretty good. I think that would just be a good idea. I actually like the mid-season draft. I think it's a really good idea. It's not so good for the state league teams in a way.
Only they do get I think it's a $10,000 bonus or something compensation, but it's only money. They lose a good player that, let's be honest, could win a premiership there than they would at
But let's be
AFL
honest, they're not.
club,
Let's be honest,
they won't care.
If you're a state league player and you get told by an AFL club, we want to pick you up, you're going.
Yeah,
you're going, and it's unfortunate. And basically, most of the players that are playing in the state league are looking to maybe get their dream of moving into the AFL, especially the younger ones. I think it's an overall great idea, but I think a loan idea could work. I think it would be a great idea, especially if you've played 2 games in the main team this season. You can get loaned out.
Yeah,
I mean, even if you could, even if a club wanted to, let's say, this is obviously hypothetical, but Ash Johnson for Collingwood, for example. If Collingwood were willing to give him up on a loan to a Carlton or something, that's completely hypothetical. That's obviously stupid. But I mean, if the Collingwood wanted to do that, they could. But I'm saying, for Carlton, for example, if they were thinking they could still use Paddy Dow, I'm using him as an example because he's been talked about a lot lately. They're thinking maybe he can come on in a year or so, but we want to get him some AFL game time. Let's send him to the West Coast Eagles. Give him 6 months there. Give him a bit of experience in the AFL system instead of playing VFL, because it is a step below.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that'd actually be a pretty decent idea. But I 100% say no to a trade period, because we've already seen free agency give these top teams a much
I think free
boost.
agency just... The top teams are getting better and the lower teams are getting worse. And as we see with the bottom, three, really, Hawthorn, North Melbourne and West Coast. So
I mean, North Melbourne's a prime example.
Yeah.
They can't pick up anyone. They've thrown $1 million at Dustin Martin, Josh Kelly, and they throw it at fucking Jared Pollock, and that turned out to be shit. They've overpaid for shit.
Then they
players.
did it again with Aiden Core, so it's really... It seems like they don't know what they're doing, but...
Yeah, I mean, if you can't attract a big player, then, you have to go for the lower ones. But nonetheless, that was really the only thing I wanted to talk about to start off this episode. So I guess we'll get into the weekly votes. Now, of course, this week we had the bye rounds. Brisbane, Fremantle, St Kilda and Sydney all had byes. So this week is Geelong and the Gold Coast Suns. But let's get into the first game of the round, which was Demons versus Carlton. Now, I was watching this live on stream. You were probably at work, I think.
Yeah, so I didn't watch this thriller.
You got lucky, because this game is freaking miserable. It was a miserable game of footy. I said it a couple of times when I was live streaming. I was saying, this game sucks. The first half was fucking dreadful. Both teams couldn't kick, and that's saying something. Melbourne are usually pretty good ball users. They were crap in this game. Every single player was misusing the ball, and I was just saying it's crap. This is crap football. And, I mean, the scoreline was 8-13 to Melbourne, and Carlton got fucking 6 goals, 8. Harry Mackay did kick 3 goals, so I don't think he's back in form by any means, because he set shot goal kicking. He missed every single one. Well, he missed all, normal set shots. He even took a snap shot from about 40 metres out on a 40-odd degree angle. It wasn't a snap. It shouldn't have been taking a snap or whatever. That's not even just the traditionalists out there. You should be kicking that straight. It's just an easier... He was too far out, and he didn't make the distance.
Yeah.
So, I don't think he's back in form. Nonetheless, Melbourne won this game by 17 points. I think they're actually in a bit of a hole. They don't have a forward line to kick to. They were lucky they were playing Carlton, because they looked pretty miserable in this game. Bailey Fritsch struggled to kick a goal in the first half. He kicked a couple of points. He didn't kick straight. Usually he's a pretty straight goal kicker, so that's one of the big things about him. But in this game, he's kind of off in the first... I think it was the first half, so he could have really had a big night, but... One person that stood out most of the game was Christian Petrarca. He got the 3 votes. 2 votes I gave to Ed Langdon. He played brilliantly off the wing, and if him or a Lockie Hunter don't get the wing spot in the All-Australian team and they give it to some inside midfielder like they do every year, the All-Australians are fast, because it's supposed to be the best team of the year.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be the best. It's not supposed to be just the best players that you just cram in there.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm sorry, but it's supposed to be like a team. And if you're not adding an actual wingman, which I think is very important these days, some of the best wingmen in the competition are from some of the best teams. So that's just me. But anyway, and the one vote I gave to Max Gawn. Now, Max Gawn, to about halfway through the third quarter, he was having a pretty average game. But in the last quarter and a bit, he really stood up and got Melbourne home. So I gave him the one vote.
Yeah. Are you surprised that... Do you think Melbourne are better off the way they're going off at the moment than they were last season when they were 10 and zip?
No.
No?
No. They don't have a forward line to go to.
Yeah, but that was their problem last year, though, without Tom McDonald. But now he's fit, but he's not in the team. Is that...
I mean, they got Ben Brown. They got...
he's in the twos.
They got Ben Brown and Tom McDonald. They traded away Sam Wiedemann, who's playing... He's not playing the best at Essendon, but he's getting a role every week, and he's playing his role.
Yeah.
So they still don't have a forward line. They're kicking to Van Rooyen, who's a first-year player. And don't get me wrong, he's playing quite well as a first-year player. But now they've chucked Joel Smith in there, who's been a defender in his career.
What now? They did Joel Smith. They did Harry Petty earlier in the year.
Harrison Petty.
Yeah, it seems like they have too much in defence, but they think they're too good 22, and they chuck them forward. It's just like, I don't get it.
I think that maybe Melbourne in the office. I don't think they can win the flag at the moment. I think they've kind of fallen off a bit. Maybe
they've had an easy run. They have had an easy run of fixtures at the moment. So.
We'll see how they go throughout the rest of the season. They'll probably make top 4 because they usually win their games in the MCG. They usually have pretty easy teams there. Yeah. They should be able to make it, and I think they'll be fine. They'll make top 4. I think it's similar to last year how they fell off. I think when they come up against the hard teams, they'll struggle.
Yeah.
I just don't think Melbourne are up there at the moment. I think the premiership favourites at the moment are Collingwood, Port Adelaide, Brisbane, and that's probably about it. I think there's a pretty big gap between those three teams and the rest of the competition at the moment, to be honest. And even Brisbane, I mean, we saw them against the Crows. They weren't that good.
Yeah, I think, like you've always said this season, that it's still their defence. It's still the problem.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Jack Payne back there, he's played pretty well this year, and I think he's definitely added something, but it's still a little bit too one
still a mystery,
speed
I think.
in their midfield as well. So, I don't know. I think Brisbane are there. I think Port Adelaide are probably the closest to Collingwood at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's a Collingwood, Gap, Port Adelaide, Gap, Brisbane,
And then the rest of the competition. Yeah, I think that's probably about right at the moment. But anyway, speaking of Port Adelaide, that's the next game we're going to take a look at. Port Adelaide won this game in the first half.
First quarter.
They won this in the first quarter. This game was over at quarter time. Hawthorn stood up really well last week and beat St Kilda, but obviously the loss of James Sicily was going to be huge, and it stood out in this game. They couldn't defend, and I mean, Luke Bruce kicked his 500th goal. That's good to see in his career. But Hawthorn, the second quarter, the second half doesn't matter. They caught back in this game. This game was over by half time. Port Adelaide put the brakes on. They were like, we got this win. Let's just not go out with injuries.
I think there's two reasons for this one. Port Adelaide, if they got to a 100-point lead, I think they would have run away with it. I think that once they kept around 90 points for about 15 minutes during the third quarter, and then Hawthorn started to roll them. And it didn't matter, obviously, because it was 90 points and they weren't going to win.
Yes,
and
Port Adelaide were like,
we'll just put the good players on ice. We'll wait for next week against the Dogs, and
because that's an important game next week. The game against Hawthorn, we were up by 90 points at half time.
You don't want to lose any more injuries, which I think they got away with it without injuries. So that was pretty much their thing.
That was their job.
Maybe a bit of
really.
Probably the worst thing for Port Adelaide is that they did lose a lot of percentage because of that disappointing second half. But
I think
there's going to be other opportunities to get some percentage in some of the games anyway.
Yeah. So, with the 3 votes I gave to Jeremy Finlayson, he got 5 goals. He was brilliant in this game, especially in the first half when the game was there to be somewhat be won. I mean, the game was already over. I mean, he kicked, I think, 4 goals to quarter time.
He kicked 4 goals in the first quarter, so
he was brilliant.
Done and dusted then.
He's got a couple of 3-vote games this year. He's played really well. I mean, against Sydney, he was the match winner.
Yeah, since the Sydney game, he's played pretty well.
Yeah. 2 votes was definitely a hard one. It was a toss-up between Zach Butters, Todd Marshall, and Connor Rozee. I did give it to Connor Rozee because he also had the 13 inside 50s. He was getting it in there. Yeah. That's a very underrated stat, in my opinion. Getting the ball inside 50 for your team, because basically he's a midfielder. He's getting it in there from the clearances as well. I think, and he's a very good ball user, Connor Rozee. So I gave him the 2 votes. And the 1 vote, and this may annoy some Port fans out there, I gave it to Todd Marshall for 5 goals. I think 5 goals in a game of football. Yes, it was against Hawthorn without James Sicily, but I'm going to give him the 1 vote. Zach Butters I was contemplating giving it to Zach Butters, but 5 goals for Todd Marshall. I just snuck it through.
I did watch most of this game, and I think Rozee was more influential. And with the other 2, obviously kicking parents, 10 goals between them. Just kind of had to give it to him. So
Zach Butters.
Butters was good. I'll give him. It was not like he had a bad game. It was just that.
He was that fourth.
He was the 4th and 5th best.
4th best.
Best. So yeah.
All right. Next up, we got West Coast versus Collingwood. Like we said, West Coast were in this game for about a quarter and a half to go, but as what everyone had kind of expected, Collingwood ran away with it. I mean, yes, West Coast had more injuries, but we've heard that story a million times. I'm sorry, but West Coast injuries.
It's the same old.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. I mean, yes, you can use it as an excuse. That's fair enough, but they've just. There's something wrong. Something there.
There's something wrong with their department. I think somewhere.
But nonetheless, 3 votes I did give to Nick Dacos. He's actually playing a lot more influential footy in the past couple of weeks. He's actually been playing in the midfield and looks like he's going to get that role from Jordan De Goey after his suspension. This probably comes out in about an hour or 2 from now, so we're recording about 4:30. So we'll probably get the Jordan De Goey information just after it, but we know he's going to get 3 or 4 weeks. He's gone to the tribunal.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think Nick Dacos is the man to take this role from him, playing that midfield role. And he was brilliant in this one as well. He was so influential around the ground. And I gave him the 3. 2 votes I did give to Tom Mitchell. Now Tom Mitchell was very good in this game as well. Actually got a few touches, which I mean, now this year hasn't really been the thing. Like he's been a lot more influential than touches. but he kind of got both in this game. I thought he was very good in the midfield, inside mid. I think Tom Mitchell was brilliant. The one vote, and this may surprise a few people, but I gave it to Elliot Yeo. Now, did you watch this game?
I watched a bit of it, and I did see that he did...
Elliot Yeo, this is the best game that I've seen from him in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And it showed, we were watching... It was...
Gather Round.
The Gather Round, yeah, in Adelaide. Geelong versus West Coast, obviously. I think Elliot Yeo started in defence.
Yeah.
And then in the second quarter, or late in whatever, they chucked Elliot Yeo in the middle of the ground. And he's a midfielder.
Yeah.
I don't care if
he's a defensive midfielder.
Yeah, and he was very good in this game as well. He arguably kept the minute for a lot of this game. So I did think that even though they lost by 63 points, I know Dom Sheed had 43 touches, Duggan had 35. I watched this game. I didn't think they had much influence on it, to be honest. I thought Elliot Yeo's 20-odd touches was way more influential than Dom Sheed's 43, so I gave him the one vote. And something that was mentioned on Footy Classified, and I know Hutchie isn't exactly things to take off of, but one thing he has been right on in the past is a couple of trades, or a couple of movement players. This is something that I was kind of hopeful for. I don't know if it's going to happen. Elliot Yeo is 29 years of age. He mentioned that Sydney could be looking at a player like him. I would love to have Elliot Yeo at the Sydney Swans because, yes, he's injury prone, but if we can get a good year or two out of a midfielder like him, I think Sydney are kind of lacking in that area. I know Callum Mills has been very good there this year, last year, sorry. But I think that Elliot Yeo adds a little bit more pace outside the stoppages as well. So I would really love that, but I don't think that will happen. I think West Coast should be clearing out. Maybe not so much Elliot Yeo, but they need to clear out. But nonetheless, he was very good in this one. I gave him the one vote. After that, we get to Western Bulldogs versus Geelong. This game was close all the way up until three-quarter time, and then Geelong ran away with it. Now, I didn't watch much of this game because I was live streaming the Gold Coast Adelaide game, which we'll get to in a minute. But I know that Tim English was very good in this game. Bontempelli was very good in this game. Caleb Daniel was very good in this game. Well, they got a lot of touches, I'll say that. Sorry.
So they're back to their true old selves, the Dogs, more possession than actual influence.
Well, they've lost their last two, and they've lost against teams that, Geelong, I mean, they'll probably be there, they probably should make finals this year, you'd think. Yeah. But I mean, they're that team like middle of the range. They should be beating them, the Dogs. They had a lot of injuries to the Cats, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then the Suns last week, I know that it's different conditions up there, but you should be beating the Suns. Yeah. If you want to be making that top four, they should be this year, the Bulldogs, the team they've got. They're playing Rory Lobb off a wing in this game. I don't know what they're thinking. You don't play Rory Lobb off a wing. He's not an athletic player. I mean, he's a very athletic mark. He's a very athletic, tall forward. He's not that athletic.
He's not a Luke Jackson. He's not a Luke Jackson type.
So I don't know what Luke Beveridge was thinking with that move, but I don't think that he can. He doesn't know still doesn't know their forward line based on round 12.
You're not.
I did see one thing that Sam Darcy did kick one goal 5 in the reserves. But then he got injured as well.
Yeah, he got injured. Yeah. And then he's dead into surgery. So that was poor to hear about it. So
yeah. But I think Jamara Uhagen's been their best forward this year. Norton's been on and off, and Rory Lobb's been a farce, basically.
I think he's more interested in his hairstyle than he is playing footy.
But nonetheless, I did give Tom Stewart the 3 votes. Now, he was big in this game.
I did say last week that if they were going to win Geelong and get back into form, Tom Stewart had to get back into form, and he seems like he's going to.
He was massive in this one, and he kicked a late goal as well, which gave him
a rare one,
a rare goal. So Tom Stewart, I mean, he also did more than kick a goal. He had about 10 marks as well in a set. He was very good in this one. He was their best. I think he got the 3 votes. 2 votes I did give to Tim English. He was very good in the ruck. He had about 20-odd touches, and it was brilliant around the ground as he's been all season. I think he's basically a lock for Australia.
He's a lock. He's a lock of the ruck.
Yeah, he's been all around the ground. I think that was what he's talked about in his draft year. That was what he's known for, is around the ground play. And it's taken him a while, but now I think he's at that point now where he's being one of the best ruckmen in the competition now.
Yeah.
And the 1 vote I gave to Jeremy Cameron because he had about 20 touches. He was all around the ground in this game. He kicked a couple of goals. I think he was brilliant. May not have kicked 6 or 7, but as a key forward getting up and back around the ground, 20-odd touches, he arguably got him the win in this game as well.
Yeah.
So I know a couple of Bulldogs players, they were very... Bontempelli was one that I was thinking about giving the 1 vote, but I thought, if I'm putting them both on par, if I'm giving the team that wins, I usually give the points just because I think they've had more influence getting their team the win
Yeah.
than anything. But yeah, that was my votes for that game. After that, we get to the Gold Coast versus the Crows. Halfway through the second quarter, I thought this game was going to be a 50-odd point win to the Crows. The Gold Coast didn't look like they showed up. It was surprising because I thought the Gold Coast last week against the Bulldogs were brilliant, and I thought they were just going to back it up. And I didn't think they were going to win this. I didn't know if they were going to win this game. In fact, I tipped the Crows at the time, but I definitely thought they were going to give a contest, and they didn't look likely. But one man that stood up in this game was two people. Noah Anderson was brilliant in this game, and Matt Rowell throughout the middle of the game was brilliant. I said this while I was commentating. He's my favourite player to watch at the moment, Matt Rowell. He is brilliant footballer. I don't know if you watched a lot of Gold Coast games this year.
I've watched a few, and since Took Miller did get injured, and Matt Rowell, Noah Anderson are the best.
I love watching the Gold Coast Suns at the moment.
Yeah, becoming the two best duo.
I love watching the Gold Coast. They're good. It's a good game. It's a good team to watch. They're like, I've been saying it a few times. If Sydney, I don't think they will make the finals at the point. If the Gold Coast make it, I'll be barracking for them.
Yeah.
I think every single AFL fan would want the Gold Coast Suns to make it. I mean, everyone thinks... And if you watch a Gold Coast game, they're good to watch. They've got some great defenders. They're not much... A lot of the players aren't really talked about, but they are good to watch. And it's the first time, probably in their history, or probably at least since Gary Abler, that they're good to watch the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
As a team, that's probably the first time ever. Like, the Gold Coast Suns are good to watch. And in this game, after the first half of the second quarter, they were brilliant. But once again, 3 votes has to go to Jack Lukosius. He kicked 5 goals again.
It's his ground.
He loves
his
it.
ground.
They should be, well, they've won their last 4 games up there.
Yeah.
Now, there's obviously been 4 games they've won in there in a row, and they lost to Carlton, I think, in 2020. So, the last 2 years, they've won all 4 games up there. I think they want to start moving up to the...
Yeah.
Maybe they should be the Northern Territory Suns at this point, but... Yeah, I mean, they played brilliant football in the second half. As well. Matt Rowell led them in the third quarter. He was a little bit quiet in the last, but that third quarter was brilliant by Matt Rowell. Jack Lukosius, he kicked 5 goals. He was brilliant, and I think it's also they definitely locked his position down now. But also, it gives something to Ben. It's not a Ben King show. You don't have to go to him. They've also got Levi Casbolt up there, who's definitely playing a role. He kicked I think 2 goals in that game as well. He was good. So it's not just Ben King up there. And Malcolm Roses as well is actually quite a good small forward. He didn't kick... I don't even think he got a goal in that game, but he's a good ball user. He's good with the defensive pressure, and I think a lot of it... I think Carlton need to be looking at the Gold Coast fashion. They've got 2 key forwards up there. Well, they've got 3, but I mean, if you got 2 and you got some young kids around them, like Ben Ainsworth and all that sort of stuff, Carlton should be looking at the Gold Coast. And I know that's a big thing to say, but... They're using the ball properly. They're going to the tall forwards. They're separating. They're not just getting... We're not going to talk about Carlton, because that's a shot in the head to the Gold Coast Suns, because they were brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm loving them at the moment. Anyway, Lukosius, 3 votes, 5 goals. He was brilliant. 2 votes I gave to Noah Anderson. He was by far not by far. He was close to Matt Rowell. He was better in this game, though, than last week. Matt Rowell stole the show last week. This week it was Noah Anderson. He was brilliant in this game. I think they kind of missed a trick, the Crows, because they did tag one of them, and I guess if you get one, the other one gets you. Mm-hmm. If you catch one, the other one gets you. That may be the thing, the foil, which, fair enough. But Ben Keys, I did give the 1 vote, because he did stay on Matt Rowell for, 2.5 quarters, Ben Keys had this role done. He was brilliant, Ben Keys. He looks like he should be in the midfield for the Crows this year. He kicked a goal or 2. I think he kicked 2 goals in this game, Ben Keys, as well. He was very good in the midfield for the Crows. Rory Laird and Jordan Dawson. Jordan Dawson was pretty good in this game, but I felt like that Ben Keys just had a bit more influence in it. So I gave the 1 vote. Matt Rowell was definitely that 4th. Like Zach Butters in the other game, he was the 4th player.
Yeah.
He was definitely there for votes, but he just missed out, in my opinion. After that, we get to Sunday, GWS versus Richmond, and finally Richmond win a close one. It took them a long time. I think it's been 2 years or so, 2.5 years.
2.5, 3 years, I think. It's not great reading, but they did get it.
They did, and to be honest, I think the Giants should have won this game.
Yeah, they should.
The Giants were in front. Their first team to 100 usually wins, and they conceded 2 late goals to lose this one. I thought the Giants had it with about 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, when Faye kicked the goal from 55, he just thought, they've got it. There's no way they lose it. And then,
it's happening for Richmond again.
Yeah, then it's going to happen
again.
Then
they got Marlon Pickett.
Yeah, Marlon Pickett came back to haunt the Giants again.
Yeah, so... in this game, you gave the votes out. You gave Tom Green the 3.
Yeah, he was dominant through the entire match. He was doing the defensive attributes. He got the clearances and he got the disposals. And I think he got a goal in the game. I think.
I'm pretty sure he did as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 votes you gave to Callan Ward.
Yeah,
I thought his career was done.
Yeah, his career looked done, and I think it might be at the end of the year, but I think it was just to turn back
the clock.
Turn back the clock for him. It was a good game for me. I think he had 30 disposals in the end of that game.
Yeah, he had 30 disposals. I think about 10 tackles as well, I believe.
Yeah,
maybe.
and the one went to
Jack
Rewald. He kicked 5. He kept them in it. And if he doesn't kick 5, they don't win the game. So
yeah, I mean, Jack Rewalt was big in this one, and he's had a couple of games this year where he's kicked 0. So
so I
he
think
definitely need to stand up
in
for
the
Tigers.
past. I think 3 of the past 4 weeks before this game, he didn't kick a goal, so he got back into form. So
yeah, well, the Tigers definitely need him at this rate because with Tom Lynch being out for at least a month still. At this rate, they do need him if they want to, threaten some teams in the 8 this year, which I think Richmond can, but. Yeah, he's going to have to stand up in those games. And the final game of round 12 was surprisingly Essendon only winning this by a goal.
Yeah,
this is 20 minutes into the first quarter. It seemed like how much? How much is this going to be?
Because it was like 25 to 0, or 25 to 2 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and North Melbourne looked shot.
Yeah.
They also, mid-game, lost Jai Simpkin.
Yeah,
so they're chucking the young guys in there. Their midfield for a lot of the game was Phillips, Wardlaw and Sheasel, I believe. They're 3 midfielders sitting around Todd Goldstein. And to North Melbourne's credit, they did give it a red-hot crack. They nearly took down the Bombers, who, if it wasn't for Zach Merritt, I think they could have had a go at this.
Yeah, it was pretty Zach. It was the Zach Merritt show.
Especially in the first quarter.
For most of the first quarter.
15, 16 touches in that first quarter.
I think he had like 66 fantasy points by the end of the first quarter too. So he was dominated. And North Melbourne, I don't know really how they lost it.
They should have won this game. They've done it twice now.
Yeah.
Not so much against the Swans. that was not the players doing. That was more the bench. But still, that's 2 games they arguably could have won and have walked away with 4 wins this season rather than 2.
Yeah.
This is 2 2 close losses. They'll learn from it, but the kids that want to win, we looked at Hawthorn, we've seen Hawthorn a little bit better than those 2 bottom teams. But if North Melbourne win those 2 games, they're in front of Hawthorn.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's the same thing for the Swans. If they win their 2 games that were close ones against Port Adelaide and GWS earlier in the year, we're not talking about them missing finals. We're talking about them pushing for top 4 at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So, the close losses can make a big difference this year. We've seen even Port Adelaide, for example, they've won these close games and they're in the top 4. So, yeah, you don't have to get smug about it. Yeah. So, in this game, I gave the 3 votes to Zach Merritt. He was brilliant.
You absolutely had to.
2 votes I gave to Martin. Now, this guy was in the Waffle 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And this guy is arguably an All-Australian wingman this year.
Yeah, he's just... Yeah,
he's burst onto the scene as one of the best wingmen in the competition. Yeah, he kicks goals as well. He's a huge attribute to Essendon's push towards finals this year. He's a brilliant player, and I actually enjoyed watching him in that game.
Yeah.
Essendon didn't particularly play that bad in this game. North Melbourne were just, I think, quite good, and they stayed with them. I think that Essendon maybe just lost a couple of chances, just didn't take a lot of their opportunities at times, like when they should have had taken this game away from North. But yeah, I think that Nick Martin is definitely up there with one of the favourite players to watch this year. Now, I know a lot of people would be sitting there saying, "Oh, what about Nick Dacos?" It's like, yeah, I think Nick Dacos is a very good player as well, but I guess I just have a little bit of different taste when looking at players. Like, I think Matt Rao is my favourite player to watch at the moment. Sorry, I keep on talking about it.
I like watching, you got the Rankins, the Rochellis, you got the high-profile highlight reel players, but sometimes it's good to watch a Matt Rao, a good Took Miller, a good defensive attributes. I've always been a defender, so I like watching defenders play, like
Cal Wilkie, we talk
a lot. And I like Ben Mackay's game. He's playing better than his brother. He's playing better than his brother.
Last week he did lower his colours against Collingwood, but this week he was brilliant.
I thought Mackay was back into form. Ben Mackay.
I'm not talking about Harry. But he's a big talking point about leaving as well.
Yeah, Port Adelaide were looking at him at the start of the year before he got injured pre-season, so hopefully Port Adelaide will keep looking at him.
I think Port Adelaide should look more at a start for Radicalea when they nearly got him. He's been very good this year as well. But anyway, nonetheless, I did give the 1 vote. Sorry, we got sidetracked, but just 1 vote I gave to Jordan Ridley. He was very good in this one. There were a couple of North Melbourne players. I think Bailey Scott was pretty close. He's been in very good form.
He's been in good form lately.
But I did give it to Jordan Ridley because I think at times he just stood up when... And he's been arguably one of the better defenders this year. He's been... I don't know if he's been All-Australian, but he's definitely getting up there. I think a lot of players that people aren't talking about as much because we're talking about, like, the Nick Dacos and stuff. Like, I saw the AFL release a All-Australian for the mid-season, and... Look, I think Jordan Dawson deserves an All-Australian spot, but he hasn't played defence this year. He should be in a midfield spot.
Yeah.
You don't just chuck a player in there because you can't fit your favourite sons in there. I'm sorry, but, I mean, there's a couple of players in there, like Zach Butters was on a wing. He hasn't played wing this year. He's been playing in the middle of the ground.
Yeah.
They chucked some wingman. I think it was Jack... It wasn't... it was a Jack McRae.
Oh,
They chucked a Bulldogs player on the wing who hasn't played wing all year. It could have even been Bontempelli. I can't even remember who it was. But they also chucked... Christian Petrarca as a half forward. I'm sorry, but he's not played half forward. He's a midfielder.
I don't care if he's played 5 minutes off the bench or something. It doesn't matter if he kicks a goal. It doesn't mean that he's a bloody half forward.
Yeah, if he's a goal kicking midfielder, it doesn't make a difference. He's not a goal. He's a goal kicking midfielder. He's not a half forward.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just another story for another day. We may even do at the end of the year. We could do like an All-Australian pick or something. What we think. But that is the weekly votes for this week, guys. So we'll get into round 13. And, of course, this round, we have the Pride game at the start of the round. We also have the MND match at the end of the round. But we'll start with the first match, Sydney versus St Kilda at the SCG. This is a big game for both clubs. If Sydney want to somehow make the finals from here, they have to win this game. And if St Kilda want to stay in the 8, they have to win this game as well.
Yeah.
I am going to tip Sydney because it looks like Sydney are going to get a lot of players back this week. Dane Rampy looks like he's back. Joel Marty, which I think is a hugely underrated choice getting in this week. We've seen how good a form he was in before he got injured. I'm going to pick Sydney in this one, but I think it will be close.
Yeah, I think it will be a close game. I'm going Sydney as well. I'm going Sydney for maybe a different reason. It's Buddy's 350th. But also, Sydney against St Kilda at the SCG, they've won the last 5. So I'm going on record, off the record. So, on the recent record at the SCG for the Swans. So
yeah, I just think with Sydney's Dane Rampy, if he's back, I think it's a big
I think
inclusion
because
he'll go one of them will go to Ben King. I think that Melican also coming in the week before the bye was huge for Sydney, having that extra key defender, and he's always been that like. Last year, he would have been in the team if it wasn't for, obviously, Paddy McCartan, Tom McCartan, and Dane Rampy playing so well. So, yeah, I think he's a very good defender, Melican. He does make a couple of mistakes, but, yeah, I think he's very underrated. But nonetheless, next game, we get to the Bulldogs versus Port Adelaide. This one's a huge game for the Bulldogs, and Port Adelaide as well, but, it's another big game for both clubs. The Bulldogs need to win this game. I mean, they do. I mean, it's at Marvel Stadium, it's at home. They need to take a scalp. Because, I mean, they haven't, have they? I don't think they can.
Not recently.
Not recently.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they beat the Brisbane Lions like in round 3.
Yeah, so.
I think that's their biggest scalp of the year. They haven't taken a big scalp all year. This is a time to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm tipping Port.
Yeah. Well, I'm going Port because, we're playing at Marvel. It's our favourite ground.
Yeah, well, you've got a very good record.
We're the best team out of anyone at Marvel, so...
Yeah, I give Port Adelaide a real chance.
Also, Dixon and Boak are only... they need to get through Wednesday training. So if they get through that, they should be playing. And Fantasia played Sandford with Jonas, so that's going to be interesting. They'll probably give Fantasia another run. Jonas, it'll be interesting if we go back to the captain.
Well, does Fantasia even come back in if he's?
I don't think he does at the moment. I think
Willie McEntee's playing a role.
Yeah, and Junior Riola played pretty well as well. So I don't think you want to flirt with changing a lot of it, but if Dixon and Boak are fit, they'll come in, and Lord will probably get dropped, sadly. But
I mean, it's proved as well, though, for Port Adelaide that they do have a young forward line growing up. I mean, Jeremy Finlayson's still got a few more years left in him. But when Charlie Dixon goes, it's not all doom and gloom. They've got Todd Marshall, they've got Jeremy Finlayson, and they've got Ollie Lord coming through. As long as Mitch Geordiades, I think he'll stay. But even if he doesn't, even if he doesn't.
Let's be honest, he's not going to go to West. If West Coast want to throw the bank at him, he might go, but that's the only way I think he goes, really.
Yeah. Next up, we get to Hawthorn versus Brisbane. If this was at the Gabba, this would be a flogging.
Yeah.
But they will get James Sicily back this week. This is the MCG, not a very pretty hunting ground for the Brisbane Lions. But nonetheless, I am going to tip them, and I am going to put my certainty pick on it for this week. I completely forgot that the Crows lost. I would have done that, but I already picked the Brisbane Lions. I'm not going to change it. I was first this week, and I'm pretty confident that Brisbane will go and win this game. They need to bounce back from that loss against the Crows. They weren't good.
No. But, interesting, but normally this game, when Hawthorn are the home team, they play at Tasmania. I think in the last, at least 7 years, they played at the MCG, these two. So it's going to be interesting. I've went Brisbane because, they've got one of the best forward lines in the comp at the moment. I don't think James Sicily bringing it back will make a difference. It make a huge difference to the game, and
I don't think they'll get flogged as much as they against Port Adelaide.
They always seem to be competitive when Sicily plays. A bit more competitive than what they were.
I mean, other than the Sydney game this year, they've been pretty good for most of the games this year. So I'm going to be picking and Port Adelaide, but I mean when James Sicily's been in. So I'm going to be picking Brisbane. I'm 99% confident they'll win this game, unless Hawthorn can somehow pull out another victory. Mm-hmm. But I think this is a step above beating St Kilda.
Yeah.
After that, we get to the Adelaide versus the West Coast Eagles, Adelaide Oval. We don't have to spend much time on this. Your certainty pick is on the Crows.
Yeah, my certainty's on the Crows. They'll win, they'll win, and they'll win by 100 because they always seem to play well in Adelaide, and the home crowd will get up for it. So they'll win by 100 easily.
Yeah, this has got 100 points written all over it, this game. After that, we get to Saturday night, Fremantle versus Richmond. This is a big game for Freo. They've been in very good form. They've been able to beat the two grand finalists in the last 2 weeks and one of the premiership favourites in Melbourne. Coming off the bye. We'll see how they go. Yeah. I think they're okay off the bye. I don't think they've been that issued. Being at home as well, I think will be good for them. But Richmond are running in with a bit of form. They nearly beat Port Adelaide and they beat the Giants. So you give Richmond a bit of a chance, but I have tipped Fremantle in this one. At home, they should be able to win this one.
Yeah, I've went Freo. I think it's going to be interesting. You always find it a bit interesting when a team's off the bye and a team that hasn't played the bye yet. It's always interesting to see which one recovers better. I think Freo at home, they seem to be in good form. Whatever happened early in the year doesn't matter. So
I don't know what the hell happened to Fremantle because suddenly they've just done a 180 in the space of 2 weeks between the Bulldogs game and the Swans game.
Yeah,
I mean the Brisbane game they just changed up their style. They wanted to move the ball quicker and they were like. Then suddenly they all just got on board.
Yeah, it seemed to click and it just seems to be working. So, yeah, Freo win.
Sunday afternoon, the mid-game, there's no early game this one. North Melbourne versus GWS down in Tasmania. So, I give North a bit of a chance here, but I do think, because it is down in Tassie, I think if this is in Melbourne, Giants win this all day. If this is in Sydney, Giants win this all day. But for some reason, both North Melbourne and the Hawthorn play better down in Tassie than they do at home. I mean, I guess that, they know the conditions a bit better because they play a couple of extra games there a year. Maybe that's like the Gold Coast playing up in Northern Territory. But I do give the Giants the win here. I think they should win this one. They want to bounce back from last week.
Yeah.
I do think that GWS are being slept on a bit this year. They are 15th on the ladder. But they've taken a couple of scalps like Geelong and Sydney. But they are also playing pretty good football. If they just... There's still the issue of them playing a little bit too pretty sometimes. They've got to stop. They've got to start putting pressure on players, tackle pressure. And I do think that Adam Kingsley's the man for that. And they should win this one. But North Melbourne have been competitive in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think Giants win. I think if you watch the Richmond game, you saw how much Adam Kingsley didn't like a few of the things that they were doing. Like the efforts and contested possessions and all that kind of stuff that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he might need a few more, maybe another 12 months to get that completely right, but I think he's going to get to the players this week and pretty much
rev them up
and
give them this win.
Yeah.
After that, we get to a Sunday night game now because we obviously have
the King's Birthday Eve.
King's Birthday Eve. Is this going to be like a...
Yeah, they want that. Both Essendon and Carlton want this to be a regular thing.
So kind of like Melbourne and Richmond before Anzac Day.
Yeah.
Okay. But I guess it's King's Birthday Eve game between Carlton and Essendon. I can see what your phone just said, and I can't believe you've done this. I'm tipping Essendon in this one. I know that maybe Essendon have maybe not been playing the best in the past few weeks. Yes, they beat West Coast, but only beat by 50 points, which is only by 50. And they only just beat North Melbourne. But I feel like they get up for the big games. They could have won on Anzac Day if they played a little bit better in the last quarter. They obviously dropped that game. I give them a real chance here. I give them a real chance to really set a point to the competition. And if they have West Coast and North Melbourne again for the rest of the season, they just need to take a couple of scalps against not even scalps. I mean, Carlton isn't a scalp, but they need to take a couple of these wins home. They should be winning this game, Essendon, and I'm going to give it to them.
Yeah, I'm not. I've got Carlton. I don't know. They're in horrible form.
Essendon?
No, Carlton.
Oh.
That's why I went Carlton. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So they're going horrible. You're not explaining why you picking
because
Carlton?
they have a good recent record. I just think with, I think Mackay, he had he got back into form. Let's be honest. He not like huge great form, but he got some more time with the ball. I think they're going to win. I don't know really why, but I think that they've got good recent form against the Bombers.
Yeah, because the Bombers have been shit.
Yeah, but so have Carlton. They've been shit for 20 years. But Carlton, I don't know why. I want to see if... I don't know. I really don't know. I think they can get the ball in. We've seen that last month of football. They can get it in there. I just got a good feeling that they're going to turn it around this week and they're going to win this.
I think we've been waiting for Carlton to turn it around for the last month.
I think it's more like 20 years, but you know.
Well, yeah, 20 years, but at least the last month. I give Essendon this win. But Carlton may well.
And I think also, yes, they beat North Melbourne, and yes, I know you can't really, but they only won by 6 points. They really should have won by more.
I do agree with that.
Like, let's be honest, if they don't have Zach Merritt in that game, they win? Like, that first quarter, they dominated, and they still only won by 6 points.
Yeah. I
just think, I don't know, I think Carlton, they're better than North Melbourne, and I think that Carlton can win this game.
Okay. Well, the last game we get to the traditional Queen's birthday game. Well, King's birthday now, sorry. And the Big Freeze. Melbourne versus Collingwood. This is probably the biggest in the 9-year history of the Big Freeze, really. I mean, both these teams have not been this high up. I guess last year Collingwood were pretty high up as well, but both these teams are right up there, third and first. Now, if Melbourne were in better form, I'd give them a real chance here to knock off Collingwood, but Collingwood are playing too good. They're too good. I think they're going to win this game. I think Melbourne can't score well enough. Collingwood's defence is already good as it is. Melbourne are going to have to play this game almost Russian roulette, almost. They're going to have to go. They're going to have to move this ball really fast. We saw Brisbane were able to do it when they beat them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way to beat them. And I guess that you have to play that sort of way to beat a team like Collingwood, but they have to do it, and I don't think they can. I don't think they have the firepower up forward to do so. They do look like they're going to get Clayton Oliver back, so that should help them quite a bit, but I just give Collingwood the win here.
Yeah, I think Collingwood, if they don't have Oliver, there's no chance for Melbourne. But if Melbourne can get back into form, but they've only won once in the past 8 attempts against Collingwood. So recent history doesn't say they're going to win, and the way Collingwood are playing at the moment, you pretty much, it seems very hard for them. And I don't think, Jacob Van Rooyen's played really well this season, but you can't rely on it every week.
Is he going to beat Darcy Moore? That's the thing.
Yeah, you think he's going to beat Darcy Moore? I doubt it. Like, he's
going to have to play a career best game.
And like Maynard or Quain or someone will go to Bailey Fritsch. They're playing in pretty good form, underrated at the moment. So it's going to be interesting. I just can't see it. With the fact is that their forward lunch is not striking at the moment, Melbourne. So I think Collingwood will win. I think it'll be a classic King's birthday, but it'll be interesting.
Finally, guys, we'll get to our AFL fantasy teams for this week. So I got 1,885, so I had a pretty poor week. I think my rank dropped about 300, I believe. But, I mean, my team just had a couple of problems. I still had Rory Atkins in my team, wasn't too impressed by that. Rory Laird, who I brought into the team last week, got 81. Josh Fay, I don't think his score would have counted, to be honest. Yeah, I think a couple of the scores got taken away as well. So, Harry Sheasel as well didn't score very well. He only got 64. I had to put Angwood in the team, who got 39. Fay, who got 17 as the sub. But I did have a couple of high points as well. Zach Butters and Connor Rosie plus 120s. Ben Hobbs has been a very good pickup. He got 86. Captain on Taranto was probably my best idea because he got my highest score of the week. So he got 130, which is 260. But yeah, I just had a couple of players get some really low scores, just the 70s or whatever. But I did get my trades this week. I traded out Matt Roberts, who was just a player I had to get rid of. I got Harrison, who debuted for Collingwood last week. I finally got rid of Bergman. He done really well, actually. He got to up 200k. So he got 400 in the end. I was able to get rid of him. I've got the debutant from last week for Hawthorn, which is Brendan McDonald. I think that's his name. Sorry if I got it wrong. Brendan McDonald. That will change, obviously, depending on if there's any debutants that I think will score better. But I finally got rid of Rory Atkins. I had to get rid of him this week. I thought it was the best time now that Gold Coast got the bye. He's done relatively okay. He did get an 80, but then he also scored a 30. So he's had a pretty tough run from my team. I thought he was going to do a little bit better, but it seemed... I don't think it would be long before they drop him. I think the Brendan Ellis sitting in the reserves, Lockie Weller's probably going to be coming back in the next few weeks, I believe. So I think he's got a pretty due for being dropped. But I did get Caleb Sarong. Now, it was between him and Brayshaw that I was going to get because I wanted to pick a player who had the bye the previous week, so they played throughout the rest of the byes.
Yeah.
And I was going to get Brayshaw, but I think I'm going to get Sarong at this stage. I've been tossing about it. I do have enough for Brayshaw, but he is another 50k deal. Yeah. And I think just going into the next couple of weeks with having to trade out a couple of players because of the bye rounds, I'm just going to get him for now, Caleb Sarong. And plus, Caleb Sarong, I did look through. He hasn't scored under 90 the whole year.
He's been good, hasn't he?
So I'm going to get Caleb Sarong at the moment. But those are my trades for this week. At this stage, I haven't really thought of a vice captain and captain. I'll probably go vice on Rory Laird. I do give him... Against the West Coast Eagles, he should do a lot better. And I think I'm going to leave my captain on Taranto at this stage. I think he's just been so good. He's
100.
He's the only player who's got 100 every single round this year because obviously Clayton Oliver has missed with injury. So I'm going to keep it on that for the moment. But I am thinking maybe Ronald Marshall even as a vice captain. I don't know. Those are my trades for this week. Again, the only one that will... I mean... I may think about getting a rookie differently, or whatever. That's really the only... But the major point is either it's going to be Caleb Sarong or Andrew Brayshaw. I'm pretty happy with Caleb Sarong at the moment, though.
Yeah.
So what are your scores and everything?
So, I had a pretty good week, really. I got 1944. It's not great, obviously, but it's pretty close. It was in the top 5,000, so I'll take that. I had I think players did alright. I think Zeeble had a shocker. He didn't get the kick-outs.
Yeah,
which I was a bit annoyed at.
He wasn't getting those pass-back marks
as well. Seamus Mitchell being a laid out for Hawthorn, that annoyed me as well.
It wasn't really a laid out. It was a day in front.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Well, still, it was annoying. Faye, the 17, that was annoying. I didn't get that score, but yeah, it's still annoying. And Sheasel got a 64, which is pretty pathetic in my opinion. I don't know what they're doing
As
now.
if we're not it's because he's not playing off half back.
Well, he did. I looked at the stats, and all his stats were off the half back, so I don't know what the hell happened. It was It was a bit annoying. So Butters played obviously before English. He got so I took the vice captain score of Butters, and because I had a captain on English, he didn't. Yeah, I was a bit annoyed at that too. I was really disappointed because obviously English got 158. It would have been nice.
Can we just mention the fact that I picked Kieran Briggs last week?
Yeah. Oh right. Yeah. I was waiting for this one because
Kieran Briggs got 121.
Yeah. Whatever.
People said you were saying, "Oh, what are you doing? Why are you getting Kieran Briggs?" Because I did rid of Sean Darcy last week.
I was looking at it. I was looking during the game at his stats. The only reason he got a good score was because he got tackles.
Yeah, but he got a few disposals. He kicked 2 goals as well.
Yeah, into 2 goals.
He's a goal-scoring ruckman who's getting touches. He was fully defensive. They need a guy like that.
You see the 2 goals he got? They laid at his foot. Oh yeah, they were good. I'll give him that. But they laid at his foot. He picks it up and he snaps it.
He's a fucking gun. I only need him for the bye rounds. If he starts to peter off a bit, I'll get rid of him. But he's going to gain price like crazy because he got 80 in his first 85 or something his first game, then 100. Yeah. So his break even's so low. He's already priced at around 600 now. So he's going to be at like 700 by the end of the bye rounds, most likely. So I'm happy with that.
I did see that Sean Darcy should be back, maybe even next week. So that'll be interesting. But back to my team because that's what matters. Because I'm doing good. So Rosie did pretty good as well for me.
Why did you get rid of Will Phillips? Isn't he still going up in price?
Yeah, but I don't know. I think he's. It would just be interesting if...
Surely you can wait till the buy.
Yeah, I might be able to wait till
his
his buy, but I just might need the cash. It's just going to be interesting.
Oh, actually, as well, my team, I was playing a guy who had Euland as his captain.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
So we got a -6.
Yeah, because Euland came on, he got a -3, so...
Because he wanted to take his
his
Dacos score.
Yeah.
So, I won that game, so I was happy with that.
So, Tim Kelly got back into form as well. He got 112. Tom Green, Tim Torano, 130.
Tom Green and Tim Torano, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah. Stewart got into form and Dacos as well.
Yeah.
But like my trades so far, that I think all of them most of them are going to change. Like I've got Phillips for Harrison for Collingwood the first game, so that will probably change because I think he'll be dropped. But and I got rid of Harry Sharp and I got Corey Warner, but that will change depending on if he plays or anything. I got rid of Will Day. I'm really disappointed with him since he came back from that suspension. He just got got 200s. Low hundreds, and it just really after the 70 he got this week against Port, I thought it's done. And then I got Andrew Brayshaw.
You already had Caleb Sarong, so that's why.
Yes, I already had Caleb Sarong, so he's in good form. Obviously, he's been good the past month of football, and that's probably my only trade that I'm gonna keep at it. So
yeah. How much money do you have left?
I've still got 180 in the bank, so I can trade to different players. I might be able to change a few teams.
Because the round 15 buy is going to be the problem.
That's why I'm trying to change some players. Like that's why I was hoping maybe a Swans or some of the rookies that St Kilda or Brisbane, Freo or Sydney have. They come in this week.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm keeping it. I'm not going to change any of this. VC is definitely going on English against Port. And captain's going on Taranto. If English get to 130, I'll keep that score. Anything lower, it's staying on Taranto. So,
we'll see how that goes for this week.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
That's your team for this week. That's your team for me this week. Of course, this round starts on a Thursday night, guys, instead of a Friday with the Swans St Kilda game. I think Thursday game should stay.
Yeah, I think 100% they should say. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't care what the AFLP. I don't care what the AFLPA say. Fans want Thursday night football.
Well, I think it will stay from next year onwards. I think that's what they're saying. But yeah, guys, that's the end of the podcast for this week. Make sure to let us know down below. I don't know how we're going. I mean, this is episode I think 15 now. I think.
Yeah.
I forgot to look before we started. But yeah, also. Comment down... One thing I did want to know, and I may actually add this at the start of the video, if you guys wanted us to add this on an actual, podcast thing, because I know obviously the podcasts are obviously for listening, and not many people watch an hour video of, that. So if you guys want to... Because obviously not many people would have... Because I know YouTube Premium, you can actually watch videos... Sorry, you can listen to videos, not watching them.
Yeah.
So I don't know... let us know if you wanted to have us on, Spotify or whatever. I don't know I don't even know how to do that, but I would look it up and actually do it for us if there is enough demand for it. But I think we're nearly at 40 subs now, which I know isn't very much in the scheme of YouTube, but for footy channel AFL, very niche.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with that, and I think the live streams have been going pretty good as well. I'm going to try and get Jack on for a couple of live streams as well. He could do some stat reads or something, or...
Yeah, I'll keep you guys more involved in it.
Yeah, because you guys can tell with the stats. You can keep your eye on the stats while I'm calling the game. Because he wouldn't call the game, but I can call the game. Yeah, whatever. We can whatever. Just let us know. Hope your team wins this week. But that's all from us, so we'll catch you all next time.
See you later, guys.